What's up, guys? I'm Mitchell Brooks. If you haven't met me before, I'm a father, speaker, heart-led youth advocate, and I'm here to make the world a better place in my own individual way. I've spent the last 5 years in self-mastery, getting to know myself more than anything else. I've failed time and time again throughout the different things that I've put my energy and time into, only to get to know myself better and to improve in the many areas that I have. At this point, I live in Indiana, South Carolina. I live on a $2 million property, all due to the work that I've done. I also have a beautiful family, a beautiful daughter and child that I get to pour my life into every day. Now, though I got a lot to learn, I've came a long way from where I was just a few years ago. When I was 16 and 17, I was crashing out, to say the least. I was someone who didn't have a future plan. I was someone who was chasing nothing but pleasure and fun at a time where I needed to be focused on where I was heading in life. You see, years leading up to high school, I was an anxious kid, right? I played a lot of video games, played a lot of social media, you could say, and I didn't live in a neighborhood. I kind of lived out in the country, a little ways away from most people. And throughout my years of growing up, elementary school, and the early years of middle school, again, I played a lot of video games. I had a mother and a father. Mother very loving, father very hardworking, but he most of the time he was gone. And later on, things got kind of messed up with him. He ended up going to prison and jail and all that kind of stuff. But in those years of middle school and in those earlier years, I was playing a lot of video games once again, and I really wasn't developing the ways I should have been to communicate and more so. And that really caught up to me. By the time I was coming into high school, 8th grade year, right before high school, I was, again, very anxious, didn't have a lot of friends, but the friends I did have, they encouraged me to get into wrestling. See, some of them were already wrestling at this point. They wrestled 7th grade year, and they thought I should come and do it. It'd be fun, so on and so forth. Now, they said this to me, and I laughed in their faces, but eventually I ended up going. I got in there and things changed a lot after some time, right? It was very difficult. Again, I had no previous wrestling background. Only sport background I had before that was soccer. I think I did karate at one point when I was young, but for a couple months. And so I had no real background in it. And also my dad was kind of mostly out of the picture at this point. So I got into wrestling and I gave what I had. Right? I wouldn't say I gave it my all because I was not fully committed. But I gave what I had and I started having fun with it. I was around these different friends and making new friends and also getting very uncomfortable, pushing my body to its limit, and things changed in certain ways. Right? I enjoyed the way I looked more. I was naturally more confident and already in these uncomfortable situations, so certain things were a little bit more appealing and I wasn't as anxious. Right? I wasn't as anxious. Right? But at large, the sport, I didn't love it. I didn't love the sport at this time in my life, especially considering how hard it was. I really liked the benefits that came from it. I liked the different sociality I had. I had more friends. I was in more situations where I could build more friend groups, so on and so forth. But the sport at large, I did not love it. And if you know anything about wrestling, it's not a sport that you can really fake, so to say. It's not a sport that you can kind of coast on everybody else's achievement like you can with a team sport. And I played football too, nothing against team sports. I think they're great in their own regard. But wrestling is all you, right? You're out there on the mat by yourself. Everybody else is on the sidelines and it's up to you, right? So with that being said, I was out there, you could say faking it. Right, like you could say, I was there at practice most of the time throughout these earlier years, and or all the time throughout the earlier years. But and I would get out there and I'd do my thing, but I wasn't there completely mentally. Right, I wasn't there fully invested. Like I enjoyed the sport, and I knew I was capable. I listened to the coaches. I was always very coachable, probably because I was scared not to be in one regard or another. But I was always very coachable, and so I listened, and I would feel the inspiration. I would feel these coaches and the way they would talk to me and the way they would talk to us as a team. And I knew I could go and do some cool stuff with it. I knew I could take it as far as I wanted to. But how much I was invested in that personally wasn't enough. You see, throughout this time, when these tough situations arise, this entirely competitive world and environment that I was placing myself in, I wasn't necessarily ready for it. I wasn't ready for it mentally. And again, my dad was kind of in and out of the picture, and he really wasn't there to help me kind of see that competitive side of it. My mom did everything she could, Lord knows. But at the end of the day, men are more naturally aggressive and competitive than women are. And she, at this point, was slowly progressing into that role of doing both sides. And if you know anything about single parent households, no matter how hard great women or great men try to be that single parent, you can't do both sides. There's a reason why we are divided between feminine and masculine energy. But that's a whole nother conversation. So anyways, my mom did as best she could, but my dad wasn't there. And I let that affect me. I didn't have that push to be super competitive. I could have blended in with the team and played into the coach's narratives more so, though. I should have. If I was fully invested, I would have, and it would have been enough. But I didn't, because at large, I was not focused. You see, throughout this time and beforehand, I developed a lot of tendencies to bottle up my emotions, right? I kind of learned that throughout my childhood. And so when I got into these middle school years, and especially when I started doing sports, I was stressing out over the hardness of the sport. I was stressing out over having to go to practice every single day and not loving it. Again, on one foot, I'm enjoying the benefits of it. I'm enjoying reaping the rewards of this hard work, but I'm hating the hard work. Not just disliking the hard work, but struggling through it, struggling mentally. Why? Because I wasn't fully focused. I wanted to go home and play video games. I wanted to go home and watch social media. I wanted to go home and watch TV. I didn't want to go to practice for 2 hours a day, every day after school, bust my absolute ass and struggle. Right, so my mind was going through it because I wanted to get out of it, because I wasn't accepting the reality was that I was on a path of greatness. I was on a path of self-perseverance. I was on a path of accelerating my growth because I was in these environments that were tough to be in. I didn't accept that. And so naturally, I fell out of it mentally, and I was stressing about it. Well, time passed. At this point, I'm a freshman. I'm wrestling. I'm still doing my thing. I have even more friends. I'm getting into even more environments where on some end, it's good, like it's more sports-based environments and friends that do sports and are doing good things. But on the other hand, I get into freshman year and I'm smoking weed. I'm hanging around friends who are doing everything you do when you smoke weed, right? And sometimes we're drinking, sometimes we're doing, you know what I mean? We're trying to have a good time, so to say, freshman year. And so I had this world of division that I was living in day by day. One where I'm going to sports after school every day. Hit middle of wrestling season, it's a tournament every weekend, 2 matches a week. So it's like a consistent grind. But my mind is still going for the fun side, the pleasure side, going out and having fun, smoking weed, drinking. So I had this world of divide, and I really enjoyed one side more than the other, but I enjoyed the benefits of this side. But slowly but surely that started to shrink down. How much I saw those benefits and how much I enjoyed this world started to build up, right? And I had this lack of focus, this division of my focus and of my efforts and of my energy. Again, this is all at the age of 14, right? And so this division between worlds naturally caused a stress in me because I knew this path was good for me and this path wasn't. I had teachers and different coaches tell me that I need to stray away from this kind of lifestyle and these kind of things and these situations and these friends. And I heard them, but I didn't listen to them because this side was really fun, right? And it caused stress in me. But what did I do with that stress? I bottled it up. I continued to bottle it up inside me and not think about it, just sweep it under the rug. A lot of times like we do when we're young people or people in general, especially if we learn it in childhood. So that's what I did. I started to bottle it up. And then towards the end of freshman year, my dad gets locked up. Again, he's in and out of the picture. He's never around the house. My mom knows that there's something shady going on, but she doesn't know the extent of it. But one day, I'm getting out of wrestling practice, and I get in the car, and it's a dreary afternoon. It's getting dark. And I could just tell the energy was off in the car when I got in. Whatever, she starts driving, puts the windshield wipers on, or with a little bit of rain or something, and she's driving before, and it's a pretty big parking lot for the school. Before we got out of that parking lot, she was bawling her eyes out. And I sat there confused, tired as hell, because I just got out of wrestling practice, but I sat there tired, confused, and angry, thinking, why? What? I was kind of, in this world of confusion to begin with between who I wanted to be and where I was headed. And again, with no real future plan, right? And this happened, and it was like the only leg that I was standing on or hopping on or walking, whatever you want to say, got knocked right out from under me. And my whole world just did a flip upside down. The rest of it did a flip upside down, right? And in this moment, I just sat there and tried to process what she had just told me and how she was acting about it, and I couldn't. And this anger started to bubble up. But if you could probably guess what I did at this point. I bottled it up. I'm sitting there with my mom, my woman, the only person who's really, really, really been there for me my whole life, and she's losing it. And all I knew to do was to bottle it up, because I wasn't gonna let her make her feel worse because of me blowing up. And so I swept it under the rug. I put it back in the backside of me so I didn't have to think about it, and so I could be there for her and be who I needed to be in that moment for her and for myself. Well, if any of you have learned yet or have yet to learn, when you bottle things up and when things are really tough, but you don't face them, at some point, it's gonna blow up in your face. At some point, it's gonna explode. The bottle will pop. The things that you're bottling up, it will pop. You can only put so much in there. And oftentimes we don't know the size of the bottle. We don't know how much we can put in the bottle, but we just keep piling it up. So time passed on. Again, it was middle of freshman year at that point. Then we get into sophomore year, time's passing. Again, still no future plan in school. And throughout this whole time, I'm still dividing my energies in these worlds completely. I'm still in one foot out of wrestling and football, and going heavier and heavier into this fun lifestyle, right? This pleasurable lifestyle. My friends, I'm hanging around with my friends more and more. I'm skipping practice a lot. It's not main season, so we don't have to tournaments and stuff on the weekend maybe as much. I'm going out to party. I'm going out and do whatever I can to have fun, to truthfully avoid the anger and the emotions that my soul wanted me to feel and understand. In reflection, now I can say that. But truthfully, I was avoiding these negative feelings. I was avoiding this sense of life that I did not understand and things that were bringing me aggravation. I was avoiding it all because I didn't want to face it. I didn't know how to face it. Right? I felt victim in one way or another. I felt that there was no way for me to fix it. And I didn't want to think about it, truthfully, because it was tough to think about. Right? And so I started stepping more and more into this world, doing the things that my friends were doing. But here's the thing. We were just smoking weed and drinking to begin with. But slowly but surely, because of different influences, the people in our town, certain people's family members and all that kind of stuff, the drinking and smoking weed ended up becoming drugs. Right? We weren't just smoking anymore. We were snorting pills. We were popping pills, right? Smoking whatever we could get our hands on. We were doing psychedelics, doing whatever we could to chase the high, to alter our mind, to avoid what we were feeling, to get out of the whatever mind states we didn't want to be in, right? Like we were just chasing the feeling. We were just trying things out. And of course, this started in good fun. Nobody was like, all right, we're going to start becoming drug addicts. No, it was like, what are we doing tonight? What are we doing tonight? How are we going to feel something different tonight? Again, none of us having a future plan at all. Just kind of having fun in that moment. Right? And so within that sophomore year, I completely crashed out, and the bottle popped, you could say. I quit wrestling. I quit football. I had a relationship at that time that was going on at least for a year that was a real relationship that I put a lot of time and energy and effort into. I gave up on that, completely quit on it, broke the girl's heart. What followed that was even uglier. In a matter of 6 months, I had run-ins with the police, ended up in handcuffs, the shackles at one point. Again, I was on and off of drugs, you name it. I was getting robbed, stolen from. I had all these friends that were just weren't real friends. They were people who were around because of the other friends who ended up doing me wrong, or I ended up doing people wrong, and that kind of thing. One of the worst things, I ended up busting these front 2 teeth out. These 2 teeth right here are completely fake. I ended up busting them on the windshield of a car. I rolled off, hit my head on the asphalt on the ground below. And that was me rolling off of a car. Had someone, a friend, who was actually a friend for some time until this happened. And it was one drunk night. I mean, it really wasn't even too much alcohol involved, but we were having this little house party. And I walked out of the house, seen my friend on the hood of this car. And my first inclination was to jump on the car hood with him. Well, the guy who was driving backed out, hit the gas heading down the road, and then slammed on the brakes. And we're in this little cul-de-sac at this point. I had moved into this neighborhood at this point in my life. Mind you, we only lived here for 7-8 months because of the shit show that I created there. But anyways, this guy did that, and I hit my face on the windshield, rolled off, and hit my head on the asphalt. And this is again, a small house party. Everybody's out there watching now at this point. All my friends are it knocked me out. It's the only thing to this day that's ever knocked me out, right? It's a funny story I tell. But my friends came in, one of my other good friends at that time, came and helped me up, and I came to in a couple minutes. And, in reflection of that, I'm grateful to be alive, right? But that was one of the uglier events that happened. I also, again, was in drug court arbitration programs with the state, or should I say the county. I ended up skipping out of a boys' home at one point, meaning they stuck me in a boys' home for a weekend, and I ended up skipping out of it, running off from it, and going on this whole sequence of dumbass events because of my own choosing. Because I was avoiding my reality. I was avoiding what I didn't want to face. But there I went. Now, in this time, one of the only good things that I did and knew I needed to do was get a job. My dad's in jail at this point. I'm trying to help pick up some slack from my mom and take some weight off of her plate in this time where I'm already putting so much on emotionally. I had wanted to get a job for so long beforehand, so I went and got a job. I got my first job at a place called Mama's Pizza. One of my good friends at the time got me the job. And, I was so excited whenever I got that job. I got it, and I knew that I was heading in the right direction for some reason. Despite everything else being disorderly and no sort of proper direction, I knew that job was the right idea. So I got the job, and it gave me a lot of time to think, a lot of time for myself. Well, 4 months into the job, my now wife walks in. And we have this funny moment of love at first sight, you could say. It took us about 20 days or so to kind of get to know one another. But by then, she had moved in. My mom was cool with it. And things started to look a little bit better after that. I wasn't hanging around the same people and girls doing drugs anymore. And, slowly but surely, I started to actually think about my future. 2 years later, into our relationship, we're still together, but we start struggling. All right, we start struggling with everything because that's just kind of how growing up together goes, right? And we realized we had grown apart in some ways. Well, she realized that. I wasn't accepting of it at the time. And y'all remember how I broke the one girl's heart, right? So going into this relationship, my mindset was I'm going to do her as best as possible. I'm going to treat this relationship real. Because truthfully, I hated myself for how I did the last girl. Because I reminded myself of certain ways I've experienced my father treating my mother. when it comes to adultery and all those kind of things. So I knew I was going to do right by this one. And so I spent 2 years being what I felt was all in on this relationship. And then in a matter of a couple weeks, we fell apart. It fell apart. It crumbled. It crumbled in my face, and it really hurt. It really hurt because, again, in my mind, I had done everything right. I had done everything right. So in that moment, whenever we broke up and we had this tough spell, I had this inclination to go back to my old ways of feeling bad for myself, my old ways of being like, well, screw it. I'm just going to go chase pleasure anyway. I'm just going to go chase some sort of avoidance of what I need to face here. But because of my past experiences and because how much I had grown in that time since those past experiences and how ugly it got then and how much I had reflected on it from then to there, I knew that would not be the right choice. I knew that this ugliness that had reared its head in my life, this sad point, this very anger-filled, sadness-filled point in my life, I knew that there was something there that I was meant to learn. And so I took full accountability and began working on self-mastery, and I had never looked back since. Now, something to add there is when I let go of that pain of the relationship and the pity, the self-pity, the feeling bad for myself because I had put everything into this relationship, when I let go of that and I took my mind off of that, the relationship fell right back into place. We were back together within a week or two. Right? Now, I don't say that to say that's what will happen with your relationship if you're someone who's hurting right now. I say that to let you know that the things we place on a pedestal, the things that we hold on to and over-attach to, we push away. Right? We push them away and we don't attract them the way they're meant to come. And oftentimes that's what throws us off more than anything. So my friend, if you're in that dark night of the soul within your relationship, within some sort of love situation, know that being the individual that you're meant to be, based on that relationship, if it's meant to be, it'll be. Right? You being who you're meant to be, if you continue to be that, then the relationship will come or go based on whether or not it's meant to be. Don't over-attach. Don't base your entire identity around a relationship or something that a meaning of love, because truthfully, that's not real love. Real love is real love is unconditional. You can't change it. You can't not have it because someone hurt you. But what happens is we over-identify with these loving relationships. We over-identify with the comfort we feel within a relationship. We over-identify with maybe even a trauma bond to a relationship. So when we over-identify, that means that we are placing too much emphasis on it, which then means that we push it away, because in some part of us, we feel that we're not worthy. We have to over-identify because it doesn't feel natural. We have to over-identify because some part of us feels that we're not worthy of said loving engagement or situation at all. And so when we over-identify with it, we then tell the universe that we're not worthy of it in one way or another, because it doesn't feel natural. The things that feel most natural is what we keep within our life. The habits that are easy for you to have, they feel natural. The habits that are harder for you to build, it's hard for you to build because they don't feel natural, right? So back to the main story, that was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we had that low point, and I took full initiative and accountability for where I was headed in life. That was the major decision and deciding point of my life and my trajectory of the last 5 years and the trajectory of the rest of my life was that very point right there. That point where I felt so much pain, even though I had put so much in one way or another. So my friend, as you start to work on yourself, as you take the time to identify where you've been in life and where you're headed, know that the pain is meant to help you see it for what it is. Know that you're meant to transcend your own personal issues in this game. And in fact, that's what it's all about. It's all a representation of what's on the inside. And as you move through those transgressions and those transcendental points in the journey, you'll realize how much you're learning. But sometimes it won't feel like that. A lot of times what it feels like is pain and agony. But as long as you keep the right mindset, the right state of accountability, the right forward-seeking, progressive mindset that knows that you're heading somewhere better, you will stay on the path and you will continue to head up. You will continue to head in that correct trajectory, right? It may feel like a loop, right? It's going all over the place. You go back and downwards sometimes, right? It's not linear. But it is the right trajectory by which you know the outcome, you know where you're heading, you know the type of emotions you're going to feel in that new reality. You're just continuing to strike after it and put the action, the steps in place and taking the action to get there. Even though sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like you're getting there, right? You're moving, and that's what it's all about. My friends, if you've enjoyed this, let me know below, leave a like, subscribe. Take the steps, man. Start working on your journey today. We have a community that we're building. If you are on this journey or getting started on this journey, it's great to be around other people who can share their insights and what they've learned with you. Perhaps even find someone you can start a business or an opportunity with. You never know that where the doors will open up when you start striking into that path. Links in the description below for everything there. Let me know if you guys need anything. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video. I love you guys. Have an amazing day.